just going to start recording this webinar so we have a recording of it, and I'm just going to bring up these slides right now. Now, obviously you got access to RunAWebinar as part of the package with Webinar Alpha, so I'm hoping today to be able to show you and guide you through every step of the webinar system and show you how to use this software correctly. So what we have on my screen right now is we've got the webinar system running. We've got the dashboard, registrations, stats, settings, and log out. You've also got a profile feature down here. Now, in order to start a webinar, you'll create webinar, click create webinar, and actually start the webinar from here. So let's say, for example, we're running a webinar on fitness or anything like that. We can click webinar on fitness and we can select recording. Now, when we select recording, what it's going to do is it's going to select the recording that we're actually going to do a recording with the system. Now, I'm just going to turn off notifications as well. Cool. And we'll click save webinar. Now it's going to produce a live webinar, and after we've actually produced that live webinar, it'll present us with the recordings. This is the current templates dashboard. Now we're actually adding about 15 more templates in over the next couple of days, but we can just select one of these templates that we like, and we can continue to the next step here. Now we've got our webinar system landing page. Now the landing page can either be a form. You can either get a form and download that and add to your own page, or if you want to, you can use this as a your own webinar system. So let's just go like, so for example, discover how to gain muscle and strip fat away in 30 days or less. And you can see as I'm typing, it's coming up down here as well. We're able to then as well add some details about this, and you'll see these here. Hot webinar, don't miss this one. So we can name and type in different bits and pieces about this as we want. Now, there's obviously we've been having some issues with GoToWebinar recently, so this one's going to be recorded. In terms of this, the webinar system should be recorded. It should work fine. We're still working on a couple of things within the system, but there should be no problems with the recording feature of it. Once you've run the live webinar, as long as you don't close the webinar during the time that you're running the webinar and reopen it, all right, as long as you just continue having the webinar open, running it, then it should work fine, the recording feature. All right, so now let's go into this. We can rename this if we wanted to. We could say, webinar details, or name this as you want, and then we can type in, learn how to, gain muscle and strip away fat fast. And we can just, you can type in the benefits here as well, and you can sort of see what these benefits are. Now, the media, in terms of the media, you can change the logo up here, and you can also add the video URL. And you do that very easily within the system by going like this, grabbing your own logo. And I'm just going to load up this logo. I'll just go SBC and load this up. There we are. And we can add, there we are. So if I wanted to add a smaller logo, I would obviously include a smaller logo and upload a smaller logo. Right now it's uploaded quite a big logo. I can then change the video by adding a URL here, and that video will then be able to play as people hit the page. I can then add a thank you page URL. Now this thank you page URL is very important. The thank you page URL is basically where people will go after the webinar. So it might be runawebinar.com/thanks, for example. You might have your thank you page there. Now there's a logout page where you want people to go once they've logged out. Again, you can create a page for that, and you can have like a buy button on that page, or like an offer on that page, or anything like that, and you can send people there as well. There's also a social component to this. You can actually add a Facebook URL, and it'll add in your Facebook URL into the system, as you see up here, to share the webinar, which is quite a cool technology. So you can add Facebook, you can add a Twitter one, and it will just pop up as you want it to. And even Google+. Now when you're finished here, really easy, you just click next step. Now we fill out the details of our webinar. When is our webinar going to happen? So say, for example, I might want it to happen on Tuesday, and it might be at 6 p.m., for example, 6 p.m. Click done. webinar on fitness, we've got our organizer's name. For me, it's Sam Backer. I'm organizing the webinar. We've got the organizer's email address. We've got the email sequence prior to the webinar. Now this is what will be sent out. Hey, welcome to the webinar. Make sure you jump on nice and early to reserve your spot. Now this is going to be emailed out 30 minutes before the webinar starts. There is no dollar amount. We're not charging for this webinar, and we can add in a description here as well. We can also select if we wanted a paid webinar, our PayPal details to get paid as people, before people register for the webinar, but right now that's all we need to do. We then click finish. It's going to ask me to generate, I haven't done a description, so fitness, webinar. I'm just going to add this in just to save us some time. Finish. There we are, webinar on fitness has been added to the top. Now it says the email hasn't been sent because we haven't started the webinar yet. We get a registration link, all right? This is our registration link. I didn't add a video, so it's not added there, but as you can see, all the other details have been changed and adjusted, and people can register through this system right here. When they add their details in, their name and their email, then submit, it's going to take them to the thank you page, and it's also going to save the lead inside of your autoresponder that you've integrated within the system, or it'll actually go ahead and add it into the registrations right here, all right, into our registrations page part right here. It'll add it in here, and you can download your registrations from this section here. You can see this view recording. When your webinar has concluded and a recording is made, it will actually give you a recording link here, and it will actually produce a link that you can send out to people. So say, for example, you wanted to send this out. Here is the recording that will be sent out to people, and it includes the webinar. Very cool and very easy. Pretty easy to do. Cool. So now we've got the stats. We can read our stats. We can see how many total attendees turned up, who they were, and all the details about them. And then we've also got our details about the owner. And we've got our autoresponder integration right now. Right now we integrate with Aweber, GetResponse, MailChimp, and iContact. We are planning on adding a few more in soon, but for now those are the main ones that we're actually running with. Now when it's time to start your webinar, before it, you can edit it, you can delete it, you can end the webinar. When it comes time to start the webinar, we recommend starting it in Firefox right now. The reason that we recommend starting it in Firefox is that Firefox has a certain plugin that works really well with the system. Now, right now we're working on a way of making it work for all browsers, but right now it works significantly better with Firefox. So let me go across to Firefox. I'm just going to open this up and add this in. Now, the reason that we're doing this is, or the reason that we obviously want it in Firefox is that it is basically, it's going to allow us to do some of the stuff that we want to do through the system. So let me just get this set up and I'll log in through the system here. Cool, logging in now. And I just got a message from my developer as well, and he's given me an update on a couple of developments that we're doing at the moment. There's a few additions that are going into the system at the moment. We're adding in obviously more templates, we're adding in more autoresponders. There's a few minor bugs that we are fixing, and we're also adding in multiple languages. So soon we'll have about 5 different languages this webinar system will run in, and you'll just be able to select which language you want, and it'll run in those languages, which is quite a handy feature. All right, so I've opened up Firefox. Now I'm going to go and click Start a Webinar. Start Webinar. So it's saying my webinar is scheduled for tomorrow, but it's going to allow me to start it now if I want to. But it's basically just saying, hey, we haven't sent out anything to your people that registered for the webinar. You know, usually you'd start it on the actual webinar time when your webinar is beginning, but in this case, we're just going to start it now to show you this example. Now it's saying that my webinar has already ended. I'm assuming that's because of the fact that I opened it up in Chrome before. So let's just see if it says the same thing in this one. Meeting has already ended. All right, well, let me go ahead and just create a quick webinar. Because once you start a webinar, this is one of the things that we're fixing at the moment, so you can re-enter into a webinar. Once you start a webinar right now, if you've started it and it's registered as started, then it will actually end the webinar. So we're working on a way right now of actually having it so, once you start the webinar for the first time, it doesn't matter. You can re-enter into the webinar as long as it's not 1 hour after the date that the webinar should have started. So I'm just going to add in some random details here just so I can show you this in action. Wait for this to load. We'll just go back over here, next step, and continue. Okay, next step. add some details, finish, and start webinar. Confirm. Cool. So now the webinar is starting. So when you first start your webinar, it's probably going to pop up with a Java update that it requests. So you'll need to start a Java update basically, and it'll just ask you for that. Now your users won't see this, but they'll be automatically muted. But you have the option whether you want to listen only or you want a microphone. So if you have multiple people coming onto the webinar, you might actually have multiple. You might want to mute yourself out basically. Cool, so the webinar has started. It's going through the tests with us. It's saying, hey, would you like to test out all your information? We've then got all these different info. We can type on the actual presentation. We can upload a presentation if we want to. What I'm probably going to do is I'm going to show you how to share your desktop. If you want to, you can do webcam as well, and you can mute yourself through this system. You can see all of your attendees in chat right here. So if I was to send you out this link, you could actually join here and you'd be able to chat with me here. Now, other members will not be able to see this. Only people that are actually on the webinar will be able to see this. Cool, so right now, the co-presenter feature, we haven't come up with a way of adding a co-presenter yet, but what they'd need to do is they'd need to log through the same system as you. But we're basically preparing that system at the moment. It's one of the things the developer's working on where you're actually able to add a co-presenter. It's going to be when you set up your webinar, you'll be able to add a co-presenter through that system. All right, let's share my screen. So we're going to share the full screen. It's going to show me a preview, and then what it's going to do is it's going to now allow me to share my full screen. It's going to ask me whether I want to run the app, which will allow me to share my screen. I say yes, and now look at this. Now you can see a preview down here of me actually running my screen. So if I was to go up here and I was to load up, a slide presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, my users or people that are on the webinar, people that are visiting that are on the webinar, will now be able to see this webinar live in action. So as I'm doing this, they'll be able to see that. And I can do my full slide presentation here. I'm not sure if you can see it on my screen, but there's also a blue highlight that's actually going around my screen. And that's basically showing the area that I'm filming right now. And right now, I'm actually recording my entire screen. If we wanted to communicate with people on the webinar, we're able to do that by selecting their name. We can find out what their email address is, and we can also boot them from the webinar if they're causing trouble. We can, if we want to, engage with them through questions, and there's a number of different settings here as well. But basically, all in all, that's the webinar system. You can share on a webcam. It'll do the recording automatically, and right now, because it's recording, it will record our webinar, and it'll become ready for us. Now, I'm just going to close this preview down. When you want to exit the webinar, the right way to exit it is basically going out and clicking log out. All right. The reason that you want to log out is that if you exit the webinar by crossing the browser off prematurely, what will happen is it'll basically not record this the recording. So when you're leaving, log out, make sure you log out. It's going to keep the recording for me, and it's going to convert it now for me as well. So once that's done, the webinar is ended, and now we'll be able to basically go and get a recording for this webinar, and you'll see it show up as an ended recording probably in the next 5 minutes while it converts this replay. So right now, this is the webinar that I was on, and it's going to pop up into this group in just a second, like the webinar on fitness did, because I had started that webinar prematurely. All right, so do we have any questions? Anyone have any questions about what you've seen so far? Now, obviously, we're going to keep on working on this system. We're still working on it right now and improving it. But any feedback that you can give us in terms of what we can do to improve the system is hugely helpful to us, obviously. So please let us know if there's anything that comes to mind that you could see being improved in the system. Can we use PowerPoint presentations in the system? Yes, you can. Stuart, you can use them in two ways. You can either import the PowerPoint presentation into the webinar itself, or what you can do is you can share your entire screen, and the entire screen will actually show the PowerPoint presentation as it's being recorded. So you would just open it up as a large PowerPoint recording, basically, and then it would show it inside of, basically show it running as the system ran. Pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool feature. It's and it's pretty easy to use as well. Right now, the main thing that we're sort of addressing is that it's only working in Firefox. Like, it's not a problem working in Firefox, but we ideally do want to have it working 100% in all browsers. So it's going to take a bit of work to do that. It's not an easy process, but we're hoping to do that. Now, the thank you page is, yes, you currently have to create it outside of the system. We are looking at integrating a way of doing it inside of the system, but right now it's outside of the system. The main reason for that, is that it's again a bit more complex. The replays, however, get auto-generated inside of the system, so that's pretty cool. But right now they have to be outside. Can I use the system without your webinar front page? I would like to have my own registration page because I have another autoresponder. Good question, really good question. Petra, right now you can use a different page, but you have to use the form that's generated inside of the software. So I'm just going to go back into the software and show you, just one sec. So basically, when you're creating your webinar registration right now, you can choose custom registration form. See that? I just selected custom registration form, and you can actually embed this right here. So see this embed code? You can embed that into your opt-in. You can embed that into a ClickFunnels page. You can embed it into a optimized press page, WordPress page, and it will gather the registrations through this. It will integrate automatically with our webinar systems integrations. So the email, you won't be able to use a different autoresponder right now. You'll have to use our autoresponder, but it will register users and it will just be a form. So you can create a custom page for your webinar through this system, which is quite important because it means that there's nothing technical. You just grab your embed code and you're done. Sure. So there shouldn't be any problems with that, but I'll just let's have a look at it. So we'll just go through. We'll create another webinar. I'm just going to do a test webinar here. Save webinar, and we'll just grab template 1 like we did before. Next step, I'm just going to go over to YouTube, grab a video, and put it into the registration page. This will do. Cool. So I'm just going to go and grab this media, insert it here, and we'll add this in right here. Cool. Click next step. We're just going to add a quick description. We'll add finish, and we'll preview how our system looks. And Stuart, it seems you are correct. I'm not sure why the video is not showing up there. It was showing up in test just a moment ago. Let me get in touch with the developer and I'll get that fixed right away. I just mentioned my developer. He's looking into it right now. That should be working. I'm not sure why that isn't working. Thank you for that. I think you've picked up a small bug, and it won't take much to fix it. It was working just before last time when I was testing it. So good to know. So yeah, we'll get that fixed right away, Stuart. So check back tomorrow. I'd say check back tomorrow, and you'll see that video now will be working. These are things that always can happen, can pop up, but right now we're really hoping that you're able to give us feedback as much as possible. If there's anything that comes up that you would like improved, then yeah, we'll be able to do that. And yes, constant contact is being added. It might actually be added right now. Let me just check. We've been working on that integration. We were working on it yesterday to add in constant contact. It's not added yet into the main system, but it's on our test server. So look out for that. It's probably going to be added today. I'm just going to message my developer, and he told me that it will be ready today. He was testing it yesterday, and I had we chance to see it. So yeah, pretty confident it'll be in today, but it is definitely available right now in the back office. It's just a matter now of waiting until basically that that's in there, put live once we've tested it fully. All right, any more questions? Now, Stuart, yeah, there's one problem we have with the recordings right now is that if the webinar cuts off or anything happens, then the recording isn't happening. We're trying to make it a bit more stable at the moment, but yeah, right now we're still improving the recording section of things. It should work fine. It should work completely fine, but as with GoToWebinar, even with GoToWebinar, that's a company that's pumped, multi-millions into their system, and I still have a lot of problems with their recordings, and it's a difficult part of the software. So we are working to make it as good as it possibly can be, make it 100%, and we're confident we'll get there. Right now it's not quite there, but we are still working on it, making sure that we're trying to get our success ratio for the recordings up to 100%. Sometimes it will have issues. Most of the time it won't. Stuart, it takes about 5 to 10 minutes to show up in the back office. Yeah, usually about 5 to 10 minutes, and it'll show that recording, view recording. Petra, you can present whatever you want. PowerPoint, you can present, you can show people websites, you can show people anything on the web. It'll record your entire screen. So anything that you have on your screen will be presented to the audience that's watching. Yep, on co-presenter, you just need them to log into the system. That's correct. So they'll just log into the system as well, go through and start. You'll have the webinar started. They'll just basically jump into the webinar. We'll look on improving that because right now it's a bit, it's not as good as it could be. So we're still working on that, but hopefully we'll be soon. Now, yes, there is a poll feature, so you can. Now, you can't do the polls outside of the webinar, but you can do them on the webinar. So on the webinar itself, you can run polls, and you can also, write. You can draw arrows on the webinar itself. All of that. Stuart, there's no way to transfer the screen yet. So the person that started the webinar will have the screen, and they'll have the screen for the entire period of time. We don't yet have a way of sharing the screen, but once we've improved the co-presenter features, we will have that in there. So it's basically in the list of things we're improving right now and building. But we're working on doing that because it's quite essential to have that co-presenter part available. One of the best things about this software, though, is you'll find that it's really quite quick. You'll never have any problems with freezing or anything like that because it's run through Webinar or Amazon hosting, so it will be a very fast system for you. We're adding the new features at the moment. We're looking at adding the new features. It's got the potential to do, to be a really great system, and that's because it doesn't use Hangouts, basically. Exactly. We're not using Hangouts. The reason that we're not using Hangouts is for the freezing problems, the problems with it being quite slow. It's not always going to be perfect with Google Hangouts. So we're just looking to really make this a fast system that's very secure and stable. So that's the main thing to us. We may not have the most features out of any webinar platform, but we do want to be the most stable. No, Stuart, we run it through our Amazon hosting account, so you won't need your own Amazon hosting. It'll be run through ours, so it's not a problem. We cover all of the hosting for this. You guys have got it. You're our first members. You're the first people that have had the opportunity to use this system, and it's going to be a yearly price because we need to cover a yearly price for everyone else. But for you, because you're in first, it's going to be a one-off cost. But when you next see this being sold, it's going to be a yearly cost because of the hosting charges, basically. All right, any more questions? And I've recorded this webinar as well, so you'll be able to go through this as well. You'll be able to go through this after, so it's being recorded. Cool, looks like that's all the questions. Here's one, cool. Awesome, thanks Stuart, that's great. Perfect. And Petra, yes, the launch looks like it will be in November, but we may stretch that out until next year. We're not sure yet. We want to make sure it's 100% and perfect. And there's a few features we want in there before we actually go and launch on a yearly platform. So it's going to be a high-priced item. It's not going to be a cheap webinar platform. It's going to be quite expensive. So we're still working towards that. We're hoping we can have it ready 100% for launch in November, but we do need the co-organizers worked out. We need more templates added. We need more integration with autoresponders. So there's a few things we're still working on to get it there. We're hoping that it's all done by November, but we may launch next year, maybe March next year that we might launch. But for us, we're not gonna launch the system officially at a yearly cost and for a high price until it's got everything that we want it to have. And right now there's a few things we want to add still to it, and we want to make sure it's still a bit more stable. There's a few bugs we're still ironing out, but we're almost there. So hoping it'll be November, but it may be later on next year. The main thing for you is now that you've got access, you'll have 100% access to this. And we'll be continuing to work on it. So you'll see a number of improvements happening, and it's great to get any feedback from you. And thank you, Stuart. That's awesome. And anytime you want to give me an email, let me know. Sam@sambacker.com is my email. Let me know anything that you've found or any improvements you've thought of. And we're 100% committed to getting as much in there as we possibly can to make this as good as it can be. So look out for more updates happening. We'll probably send you a few emails over the next few weeks as well, and that'll be good. And thanks, Stuart. Yeah, I try. I'm always in my email checking out what's going on. I like to stay and do most of the communication myself. The reason being that it's important since I'm running most of these projects that I know what's happening for everyone. So you'll probably, you'll find most of the time when you email into support or into my email account that it'll actually be me responding. So feel free to email me, anything. I like to get the feedback, and I do enjoy communicating about this stuff. So that's good. Yes, Petra, German language is being integrated right now. We've got German, Russian, Spanish, French, and I think one other language. Those are the main ones we've got going at the moment. So expect to see that in there probably very soon. I know the guy who's working on that is working on it right now today. So I don't think it'll take too long, actually. But yeah, that'll basically be a selection that'll be up the top. You'll see which language you want to select, and you can select that language. So Petra, for you, German, you'll be able to select German, and it will work immediately, and you'll be able to type in German. You'll be able to present in German. People that hop on the webinar will see, the German language on the webinar, and the emails that get sent out will be German. So it'll be really quite cool. Yes, Stuart. Yep, the best way to do it. That's definitely what I think. All right, well, let's end it there. Thank you for coming on today, and I've had a chance to show you this. I'll be sending out this replay to you to review, and if there's any other feedback you have or anything that I can help you with, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. I'm really excited about this project, and we want to make it as good as it can be, and the best way that we can do that is by getting as much feedback as possible. So if you can, send me an email or give me a message, anything you find, but I encourage you to use the system fully. Go out and start using it. I'm going to be using it a lot more, and you'll probably see a few webinars being, run by me through the system very soon, which would be great, and getting emails from it as well. So do look out for those emails, and I'll probably do a webinar follow-up to this one in about probably a couple of weeks' time once we've added in a few more updates to show you what we've done. But it should be really good. So thank you once again for coming on, and I'm looking forward to talking with you again very soon, and do stay in touch. And no worries, Petra. Glad I can help. Awesome. All right, cool. Well, that finishes today. Have an awesome day or a great day wherever you are in the world, and I look forward to talking with you again soon. This is Sam Becker, and I'll see you later.